In an abandoned bus on the edge of the Stampede Trail, Chris McCandless's lifeless body laid. How could such a bright kid end up in such a shocking state? The answer is simple. Chris's desire to live nomadically was a result of his past relationships and influences. I'm specifically talking about his relationship with his parents, the effect of Jack London's literature, and his infatuation with Leo Tolstoy's outlook on privileged living. The first and probably most impactful of these three causes is Chris's fractured bond with his parents, especially his father. The relationship between Chris and his parents prompted him to seek an escape from his unfortunate reality. Chris served to his parents' every call, including getting a degree in history and anthropology that he had no desire to achieve. If you lived like this, wouldn't you become overwhelmed eventually? In his letter to his sister Corinne, he expressed his lack of tolerance for their overbearing behavior. In his letter, Chris wrote about his parents being, quote, so irrational, so oppressive, disrespectful, and insulting that I finally passed my breaking point. I'm going to completely knock them out of my life. I'm going to divorce them as my parents once and for all and never speak to either of those idiots again as long as I live. His parents also consistently showed their misunderstanding of him, often opting for gifting him materialistic presents. Their attempt to buy him a new car despite his opposition to the idea is just one prime example. Continuing on from Chris's relationship with his parents, I'll discuss his love for Jack London's literature. This literature offered a glorified depiction of nature, causing Chris to adopt the same idealistic view. Chris's love for London's literature was put on display when he volunteered at a flea market in the Slabs. It's very clear that Chris admired Jack London's work. Unfortunately for him, these books showed a romanticized, unrealistic version of nature. The quote, London's fervent condemnation of capitalist society, his glorification of the primordial world, his championing of the great unwashed, all of it mirrored McCandless's passions. Acknowledges this. Books set in Alaska or the Yukon particularly captured Chris's attention. So, when he set off on an adventure, he headed for Alaska. Similar to Jack London's writings, Leo Tolstoy's literature also impacted Chris's life. Tolstoy's condemnation of privileged living and materialistic living was imprinted on a young, impressionable Chris. Kids always want to be like their idols, and because Leo was a role model of Chris, he wanted to adopt the same values. Chris especially respected Leo's view of living without privilege, shown in the quote, long captivated by the writing of Leo Tolstoy, McCandless particularly admired how the great novelist had forsaken a life of wealth and privilege to wander among the destitute. In his college years, Chris started implementing this mindset. One of his biggest examples is donating the $24,000 from his college fund to the Oxford Committee for Famine Relief. All of these elements played a role in Chris's future. The fractured relationship between Chris and his parents contributed by forcing him to look for an escape from his emotions. The writings of Jack London served as an escape for a while, and the idealistic picture of nature he created led Chris to believe he could find a more fulfilling life in the wild. London's books may have been the push Chris needed to pursue his adventure, but Leo Tolstoy's literature and mindset about unprivileged living imprinted itself on Chris long before that. It was these three main influences that led Chris McCandless to his unfortunate end in that old abandoned bus on the Stampede Trail.